I don't need to introduce him any further. Let's bring him out. Colman Domingo, get down here. Come on. And just so you guys know, we're going to have about a half-hour conversation, no Q&A today, but I've got you covered. We're going to get into a lot of good stuff. So are you ready, my man?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. I feel your energy. Thank you.
Colman, I was blown away watching this film, as I'm sure so many people here today were too. And I guess to begin, you did this movie when you had about an 18-day break, from what I understand, between The Color Purple and Rustin. So instead of being like, I'm going to go to the beach, I'm going to go out for brunch, I'm going to just relax for 18 days, you jumped into a very powerful movie. What made you say, I need to be a part of this film?
You know, I was invited by my director, Greg Kwedar, and Clint Bentley. They have been racking themselves with this idea for like a good 6 or 7 years. And because they were working as teaching artists in the RTA program at Sing Sing, and they thought they really wanted to tell these stories. And they felt like that they mattered, and they really wanted to get it out there in some way, be authentic. And they kept hitting roadblocks with it, just in terms of like how to actually do it. So they finally picked up the idea again, and Greg said he wrote a treatment in about an hour, and at the end of it, he wrote my name. And now, by circumstance, it was like, a couple of my reps, they were saying, oh, you got to meet these guys. I think that you would really like them. You would like their art. I watched the movie Jockey. I thought they did a beautiful film. And I said, oh, I'd love to meet them someday. Just generally meet them. And then so we got on a Zoom, and they were telling me about this program and how it works, Rehabilitation Through the Arts at Sing Sing. And I thought, oh, what is that? They do plays, and it's been really helping these inmates get in touch with their feelings and really do some true healing on the inside. And I thought, I was fascinated by that. I'm like, really? I said, could you send me a script? They said, oh no, we don't have a script. But they said, but we can send you the Esquire magazine article that they did on it years ago. So I read that, and I was so taken with it. And then I got more information, like the fact that there was a 3% recidivism rate amongst the men who went through the program, compared to 60% nationwide. I thought, well, this is really impactful and incredible. And anyone knows me, I'll do my damnedest to tell complex stories about African-American men, Black and brown men, and because I feel like, that's what I've been put on this earth to do. So I just thought it was a fantastic idea, and so we started to create the screenplay together. We would just, we would talk about things, me, the two guys, and also Clarence Macklin, Mr. Divine Eye. We would get on Zooms and talk about what was important to us, talk about story. And so we eventually, got to a draft. And then they said, oh, well, when can we do it? I said, oh, we can, I don't know, I'm busy for the next year. Just the look on Greg's eyes and Clarence's enthusiasm, he said, oh man, we really feel like we should make this year. We got to get this done. And I'm a very patient person, but this seemed very pressing, like we needed it right now. And the beautiful thing is they said they needed me. When somebody tells you, I need your help to do this and to do this work, and to be in service to these and care for these men's stories, I feel like I had to make time. And so I told them, I said, well, gosh, man, I got to go back for pickup shots for Rustin. I'm just starting The Color Purple, and I like to prep a lot too. So I really like to have a couple months, maybe even 4, to get myself together, and I wouldn't have any of that. But I thought it's time to do something differently, and do it, and just trust the process. And I said, well, I have 18 days in between two things. They said, oh, well, we'll take them. I said, what are you talking about? No, I didn't mean you can take all my days. But they did, and we leaned into it, and we went to upstate New York and shot in 2 decommissioned prisons and a junior high school and a sports complex. And
And you're bringing a real community's stories to life, right? So with that, and with so little time to prepare, if not any time to prepare, did you have any trepidation stepping into this massive role? Did you feel like I need to get this story right?
The thing that I felt trepidatious about, and which was, I think the thing that was guiding me, was I didn't want to stand out in a way. I wanted to be folded into the ensemble with these men who had the lived experience, and yet they've received their training. I believe, I've always believed you can get your training from Yale, Juilliard. You can get it by being a working artist, or you can get it in an institution like the Industrial Prison Complex or something like RTA. Training is training. So I knew that they were coming with their skills, and I thought, okay, I just want to be folded in. I don't want the idea. I don't want to be over. If anyone knows my work, if you know between Zola and Color Purple and Rustin, I can play things with size,
Just a little bit.
just slightly. I mean, missing a tooth and a wig, an accent. But this required me to be a bit more stripped down and a bit more raw. And I think that was also part of the process that I needed, to not be over rehearsed, know everything. I felt like I needed to actually just strip away and be a bit more vulnerable and be even closer to myself, and to find all the similarities in John Divine G and me. So I feel like that was new for me.
How much time did you have with him before you filmed this movie? Did you get a lot of time to talk to him and pick his brain, or you dove in?
Not a lot, but also I didn't want a lot, which may sound strange, because I think in order to create a character that has to live in a 100-minute film, I have to divorce myself from feeling like I was going to try to mock or imitate, or I don't want to treat the subject like an anthropological study and ask them every question. I want to sort of just sit and listen. So I feel like a couple Zooms with him where we were just getting to know each other. I didn't pry or anything. I just wanted to get to know his spirit and what he was interested in, and download information. And then we had a dinner where I downloaded more information. Whether he knew it or not, whether we both knew it or not, I had so much more information I can take in the room with me, when he would just tell me things like, oh yeah, where'd you go to high school? I went to high school here. I went to Overbrook High School. You know what I mean? Will Smith. Oh yeah, you did. Where'd you go to high school? I went to high school, high school performing arts. And man, I wanted to be a dancer. I was a DJ. I wanted to dance. He wanted to be a ballet dancer and jazz. He said, but then I would have to fight when I went home. And so then I stopped dancing. And then he was like, man, I also wanted to go into the police force, and then he sat there with a thought, and he said, man, but you think about the life choices you make, and what if I did that? And so I just took that in. And so I know that when I was on set, I would talk to my director, and I would say, I think that I want to try to incorporate a moment of dance in here. This just because the person that I knew, when he lit up when he talked about dancing. So I said, oh, if I'm at some point, it'll be in there. So I just downloaded it. I didn't think when I was going to do it, but that's when that pirouette comes in, when I'm waiting outside of the audition, because I've downloaded information that I can play off of, of knowing this person's soul and what he was interested in. You know what I mean? So I feel like instead of being so detailed, I'm going to do this thing, and like you leave room, like John Patrick Shanley would say, you leave room for the divine to reside. So you download information. That's what I feel like I was more conscious of with this, so I can give more of his essence and spirit, but not be too studied in performance. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
To the actors out there, does that make any sense? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Giving us an acting masterclass up in here. Okay, I see you, Colman. I see you. And I love that he had a little cameo in the movie too.
He was
How
so
special was
and he was
that?
so nervous to do that.
Oh.
He was so nervous, he never thought someone
Did y'all
as
catch the cameo?
tall and gorgeous would be playing him, but total kidding.
And we're pivoting. No, just kidding. So true, so true. Colman, I wrote a quote down, and this quote, it struck me because I think no matter what so many people are going through in their lives, no matter where they come from, no matter what walk of life they are, you can relate to this quote. And that quote is, we are here to become human again. And that's about the RTA program, of course. So when you hear that, and when you're living that in the movie, like, what do you feel? What does that mean to you?
It's funny because I think it didn't affect me until I saw a cut of the film. Because even being in the scene, I was playing a different action. So I wasn't aware of it in the moment. I was just watching him, and it was just such a a cacophony of moments, in many moments of like sort of helping divine eyes sort of like leave some traumatic behavior that doesn't fuel him anymore, and he didn't even know it. But then when Dino delivered that line, and I think it's so impactful. I think I could put a circle around it and say that's what the whole movie's about. It's about our humanity and about everyone getting back in touch with the essence of why they were brought here on this planet in some way. You know, getting back to the heart and getting back to joy, back to tenderness, back to all these things that maybe the world has sort of done a number on you in some way. Whether, you know, when you talk to people and you like, you know, you look at people's paths and you just have a simple conversation as to how, you know I was raised, I was loved, I was adored. I was set up to believe that the world was meant to do me more good than harm. And some people weren't that way. So whatever, all these things that help create a person and create these small moments that lead to another moment that changes your whole trajectory. And you have to strip all that stuff away when you have a gift like an RTA program. You know, I know that art saves and changes lives. It's not just something I'm saying, it actually does, you know? And I think the idea of watching Black and brown men play and be tender with one another when the world is not, says that you can't, it's not a construct for you. You know, I think we're told that, you know, of like, oh, what is to be masculine or to be a man? And now they're actually, and so the idea of these grown ass men standing in a space saying, we're going to reject that because that's not healthy for us. That's not, it's just not healthy for us. It doesn't help our families. It doesn't help our communities. It doesn't help our longevity. If anything, it railroads us right back into these institutions, you know? So it's about doing this active work to say, and I feel like that's what this film is for me as well, because I know that when we were building this film, the thing I know I just kept talking about probably ad nauseum was tenderness. And I want to see more images of tenderness. So that's why every handshake, every hug, every delicate moment of leaning up against a room, pouring your most innermost thoughts out to someone at night is important, because it's for us to live and exist wholly and fully.
Coleman, it feels like this movie was very much a cathartic and even healing experience for you. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
I think it is, because I think it's really, and which is why I made time for it when I did. It makes sense to me now, outside of all this, as I was sort of deconstructing this broken human who was abusing someone in The Color Purple, or playing, you know, someone who was completely undaunted in the world while trying to change the world with Rustin. This feels like it's in line with all of it. This feels like it feels like an even deeper dive into, I guess, into our humanity, really. And just, I think it's very purposeful for me. I feel like I know for sure, if I don't know anything else, I know why I make art and why I continue to make art and why I do it on every platform, because I can start to see the line of it now. As I've been doing this work for 33 years, I'm like, oh, I really care about who are we and who are we going to become. And I'm not someone, I don't think I'm not wildly political. I'm not out there, you know, burning down the streets. I burn it down with my art and with the pen. And I know that that's what's even more potent right now. I mean, I know for sure that this film we need this film right now, so we can have conversations about this, about people you thought you had nothing in common with, and you realize it's just human. These are human beings. You can have deeper conversations and deeper interrogations, and I don't know, think differently about how we do this and who people are. So I know that's important to me. So I think it's in alignment with all the things I really care about. And you know, when I was a young actor, I wanted to do dumb shit like anybody else, and just like, oh, can I get a job on the WB and make a lot of money and be named Pookie or something? But that never came my way. It was always, you know, it was always very meaningful things. And I think of myself as a pretty lighthearted person. But I think at the core, in my private spaces, I'm at home reading Baldwin and Ellison and really caring about how are we going to do this? How are we going to live every day? You know, I care deeply.
Well, it shows in your work. And I mean, as a friend and as a fan of yours, I'm so proud of what you put out into the world. And you continue to raise the bar and put out messages that mean so much to so many people. And, you know, your performances, we feel them. We feel them, man. And there was a moment in this movie when you received the really big, thick manila envelope. And I don't know about you guys, but my heart broke because you know that you wanted to get that thin one. So what was it like processing that moment in that scene for you? Because watching it was like soul crushing.
Well, here's the secret. That was the very first shot I did.
Of course it was. Of course. Wow.
That was my first shot of the film. And so I just wanted to take in, I think at our best as artists, I think we're teachers, yes, but also I think that we're empaths, you know, when we're very open to someone's experience and listening and just imagining, like, you know, that's the thing. When people are like, well, did you research that? What did you, I said, you know, I can pretty much imagine what would happen if I was actually, you know, wrongly accused of a crime and imprisoned and trying to find ways to have light, hope, and humanity, like the real guy that I play. He, you know, he was always in the law library and advocating for his fellow inmates, you know, when they had the parole board hearings, et cetera. And they would want to pay him something. And he'd say, no, you just pay it forward. You do something for somebody else. This is the light. It's been a day, y'all. We know it's been a day, right? You know, we're all experiencing this day and we talk about hope, you know, and I know it's on everyone's mind. And I think maybe that's why I literally was laying in bed before I got here because I was like, what we gonna do, y'all? We gonna do this? You know, I feel like I'm laying in bed. I'm like, we're gonna do it, right? Okay. So I'm feeling very emotional, more than usual.
Let it out, baby.
Sorry, but I'm just saying that what was I talking about?
The envelope, the scene,
the envelope. So get this. So the idea of like processing that, and you know, this guy who lives with so much hope and pouring so much love into others, and then he gets that brick, knowing that he's going to have 7 more years at least. Your heart just drops. For me, I thought this person their emotions must stop. In that moment, I thought, it was just the thing I thought, like, well, how's he going to react to this? You can play the scene many different ways. And I thought, I think he just stops. I think he just locks it all down because I think that if he went there, he would lose his whole fucking mind, or he wouldn't know how to get back up because he's a person who plays on strengths and always feeling like I'm good there, I'm good for everybody, I'm good, and then he's not, and then the next scene he goes in and brother man is getting out. It's like one more thing. Okay, so I'm truly innocent and. Okay, one knock, next knock, Mike's dead. It's just like, it's like, how much can you pile on to a person? And I thought, well, I think that this guy, I'm a very emotional person, as you can tell. I thought it would be interesting if this person just did this, and then it comes out in the most raw way. And in that one scene when they're rehearsing the play, and then what I love, because we didn't talk about this. I was going to come out and play it the way I thought he's triggered, and he plays it. And the beautiful thing that Clarence Macklin did is how he received it. You saw that the program was working on him because he pretty much could knock me out, right? But he made a choice to have grace for me and understand and put himself in my shoes and say, bro, you don't really want to do that. It's all right. And so for me, I love that moment in the film because we were shooting that stuff out of order, but like the agreement that we made in that moment is really the agreement that these men and the bond that these men were making to each other, for real, for real.
And it made that scene so much more powerful, I thought, when you did kind of have a little bit of the breakdown in the dress rehearsal, right? Because it just, you couldn't take it anymore and it came out. And I think the choices you made are so brilliantly you. And the subtlety in that moment really with the envelope got me. I mean, as so many moments did. The location too for me. I mean, the location's a big character. And you filmed on location, of course, and you see the train going by multiple times a day, and even when you don't see it, you hear it throughout the film. And to me, that was such a powerful message of this idea of escapism and people living their lives while prisoners were watching, right, and dreaming. So how was it filming there? I mean, did that just bring it all to life in a bigger way?
It did, because it's not, shooting on location in decommissioned prisons, and we shot in one of them was downstate prison, which was decommissioned like weeks before we got there. So you felt the energy there in every single way. So it the thing that I know for sure, and like I said, I didn't go do a deep dive in it. I just took it in, feeling my way through. It's designed so you can't find your way out. I was constantly lost. I always had to have a PA come and take me from my holding cell. I had a holding cell that was my holding, and Mike was in there with me. We did this wild thing where I had to move into where I was staying as well. So we were roommates on set, back, off set, off screen, and then on set. But the air feels different. It feels like there's no flow of air. There's something psychological working on you in every single way, where you felt like it's a system, like I don't know. I felt like I always needed to get out. When we had a break, I need to get outside and get some air, because the air wasn't moving at all. And it's really hot. And it's the thing that I know for sure. It's not set up for human beings. It's not set up for rehabilitation. Doesn't feel like it. You're like, there's nothing in it that says, "Oh, we want you to get better. We want to return you a better human out in the world and be a productive member of society." It didn't feel that way. I knew that much. So that wasn't hard to. So there was elements of this film where you just sort of leaned into it. You lean into the way it makes it. The cells are so small as well. You're like, this is not for human beings. It's just not. And I think I have a lot to say about that, but I think I'll just leave it there.
So jumping off of that, is there a main message you hope people walk away with from this film?
I do, and I think that my brothers who I worked with would echo this. Clarence Macklin would always say, it's important that you know that's a human being, and somebody who, if you pour love into them, you pour hope into them, they can change. And no one should be judged by the worst act, the heinous act that there is with accountability, with work, people are human. And it's not even, I think a lot of times it's not even just about the act, it's about all the stuff that led up to that act. All that, just whether education, whether it's redlining, whether all this stuff that's created a person to do this or make a choice in that way, we as a society, because it affects all of us. Incarceration affects all of us. And I think that's the thing. I think a lot of us didn't know that, like, this movie has anything to do with us. You're like, oh, if you don't have somebody on the inside, you're like, yeah, but it's not just about the person on the inside. It's all of us. It affects all of us. And for me, I know for sure when I start to think, how many, there's a lot of white folks inside too, but there's a lot of black and brown people in there. And folks growing up without fathers and mothers, and communities are suffering because a lot of people are on the inside, and we got to make some changes. So I think it helps. For me, I just want people to just think about it. You don't have to do anything right now, but because I feel like that's just knee jerk. But you have to think about it and think about people as being people, and it's human, and how do we take care of each other, everyone, and how do we advocate for everyone and everyone's liberation. And I don't mean like liberation is free, but I mean liberation of the heart and the mind. I think that's why I was drawn to it, because I think here's an opportunity to get behind this in art, to shed a different light on people. I know that It's a conscious thing. It's very conscious with the filmmakers that we sort of lead right up to a moment that you think you've seen before. Oh, here comes that movie. Here comes Shawshank. Oh, this one he gets stabbed. Oh, he's going to get punched out now. And it never happens because the film's working on you like the program's working on them at the same time. So we all transform together. That's what I think, for me, that's the joy for me. It's like, oh, you thought you knew who these people were, but now you know them as people, not a number.
You seem like a very changed man after doing this project. And I feel it with what you're saying, and I see it within you. And I think as an artist, you always want to grow and evolve and hopefully change for the better, right? But what do you think was the most surprising thing that changed about you after going through this entire process?
What surprised about me?
Like, did you come out of it like, wow, I feel a different way, or I didn't expect to think that, or I had a preconceived notion? Like, what for you?
I did. I think I had preconceived notions like everyone else. Honestly, I'm sure I did. And I made a point. I think the thing that we're getting a note here or something. Okay, good. Oh, 5 minutes left now. Okay.
And a love letter. I'll share it later. A little love letter.
I think that, how can I say this? When you make a choice to do work like this, you know you're hoping for change in some way. You're hoping. I know that I have a bit more of a louder microphone these days, right? And I have a choice, many choices on what I do. And then but as a producer and as an actor, you make room for work like this. And I'll tell you this, this is another thing I wanted to tell you about this, because it's not even just a role or a film, it's the way we make it as well. I was very proud to come on board as a producer, and because we were talking about that we would make this a community-based film, and because people are giving over their life stories as well, to make sure that everyone, and that means everyone, above and below the line, are paid equally. And every single person shares in the profits. So it's a model that they created for this film, me and my producers, and I think it's just phenomenal. And so when we built our equity very, pretty low with Black Bear as well, and then we eventually, sold it to our distribution partners at A24. And how beautiful is it to, take care of people, and everyone feels like that they have ownership of the film, like really have ownership of it. So I feel like it's changing me in that way. It's giving me the things that I started to do when I was 21 years old and I had a lot of energy and I started theater companies. I'm still doing that, but I just have a bit more of a platform now. But I'm still doing the thing that I started out doing, which was like I wanted to create work and do it and make sure that everyone's seen and everyone feels, valuable and all that stuff. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm walking away a bit stronger in that way, knowing that I can make a difference, and I really can make a difference in people's lives,
I mean, how inadequate do I feel sitting next to Colman Domingo? I mean, this is crazy. Colman, I adore you. I love you.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm so blessed to know you. It's no surprise you're getting awards buzz for this movie, and I know it's not about that, but well-deserved, my friend. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. If you can do me a favor and just stay seated for a minute, we would appreciate that, and thank you. Let's give it up for Colman Domingo.
Thank you so much.